Hey, it's Ayla, and you are listening to the Female Entrepreneurs Network podcast. I am coming to you live from a hotel room in Holland, where I am at the moment. And I wanted to put this episode that I've got for you today live. And I realized that before I had to do that, I had to re record the introduction. I already recorded it right after Dr. Rihanna, who's my guest today. After we sat down, I recorded the intro to this episode and I said, oh, it's such an amazing episode. And we are talking all things limiting beliefs and how it helps mompreneurs to flip those limiting beliefs, etc., which is indeed very cool. You need to listen to the interview to get your own conclusions from that, but it's very cool. The reason that I needed to re record this introduction is because in this episode, Dr. Rihanna actually live, well, it's not live as you're hearing this, but in the moment it was live. It wasn't a thing that we agreed on beforehand. So it was a surprise. Maybe that's a better word for it. She surprised me by leading me through her process that she uses to flip the limiting beliefs on their heads. And we cleared a limiting belief of mine right there, live on air, for all of y'all to hear. And while that is cool, and that's something that I talked about in the previous intro I recorded, the reason I'm re-recording it is that by now we are about 3-ish weeks later than recording. And the funny thing about clearing a limiting belief is that I expected miracles on the spot. When you say, you're gonna rewire someone's brain, you expect angels to sing a hallelujah and to feel yourself become lighter and just go, oh my gosh, I can feel it. The weight has lifted off my shoulders. But in the moment itself, it felt good, neutral, but good, but also not mind blowing. It's just we cleared it. And I was like, okay, cool. We cleared it. Okay. But then the magic happened because one of the reasons that we cleared the limiting beliefs that we did was it revolved around me being alone at home while my husband was away and how it made me feel and how those feelings led me to act towards my kids. That's a weird way to describe it, but that's the sort of a chain of reaction that would happen. My husband would go away. I would get very stressed and anxious and yelling at the kids, and the kids in their turn became anxious right back at me. And it was just a very vicious circle of we were just going round and round and nothing was good. We talked about this. We found what was in the root of this limiting belief. She flipped it right on its head, helped me work through it. And then last week, my husband was away again. And you'll hear me say this again, but I just want to stress this again. He's not leaving that often. It sounds like he's leaving all the time, but he only does it a couple of times a year. It's not that bad. But when it happens, it's a big deal. So this is why it's coming up. But it's not like he's gone every other week. So no blame to him here. But where was I going with this? Oh, yes. He went away again last week. So this was coincidental. He was away just before we recorded it. She flipped my limiting belief. And just after that, he went away again for a little bit more than a week, which is quite of a long time for us. And the limiting belief is so gone that the week that he was away was just normal. There was no anxiousness. There was no yelling. The kids were happy. I was happy. We did fun things. I got enough rest. I managed to give myself the permission to prioritize my own needs. And because of that, we were all happier. And I had no fear. I had no fear at all. And so what felt neutral in the moment itself felt absolutely miraculous a mere week later because I could feel the difference from the before and the after so clearly. It's a difference of night and day. And I did absolutely not expect that to happen when we sat down to record this episode together. I just I thought we were going to speak about limiting beliefs and about how she helps moms and entrepreneurs, mompreneurs like I am. And instead, she just turned her magic to me, and it is absolutely that. It's magic. I've never had anything happen to me like that before. I've been in therapy for years. Therapy is hard work. It's something where you go back week and week again, and you go back on your issues and back on this and try to break through patterns, and it's really hard work. And so, something as simple as just a few minutes of finding a root feeling of something that's happening to you and then using her framework to flip it, and how it just miraculously turned everything on its head in a good way. It blows my mind. You can hear it. I'm not very eloquent in describing it. It's just, it blew my mind. That's what it is. And I really hope that this episode resonates with you and that you can use her framework too, because this is something that I wish for all mompreneurs to have. If there's something that's keeping you stuck in life, some kind of pattern that you keep coming back to time and again, then this is absolutely going to help you. I want to give a trigger warning because the limiting belief I had revolved around my family life, and one of the fears I had was that my kids would die. This is something that we discuss in the episode. Not There's no graphic details or stuff like that, but it's just, as it is my fear, it is coming up. So if that's something that triggers you, just be warned that we're gonna talk about it. No kids actually died in the making of this podcast, and dogs either. Everyone's fine, everyone's safe. It's just a fear of mine, and we cleared it. And I'm so happy. And I hope really very much that you like this episode too. If you do, if you clear your own limiting belief by going through the same exercise that Dr. Reana pulled me through, if there's anything else that you get from this episode, please don't forget to make a screenshot, share it with us on Instagram, tag Dr. Reana and tag me, because we love to see your results as well. I hope you enjoy this episode.
Hi, I'm Ayla, and for over a decade I've been dedicated to helping entrepreneurs thrive. Welcome to the Female Entrepreneurs Network podcast. Here we focus on personal growth so your business can grow alongside you. Discover how to optimize your business, elevate your mindset, and truly feel and act like a CEO. This is more than just business, it's about transforming your entire entrepreneurial journey. Join me on this path to unlock your fullest potential. Dr. Reana Mulcahy, welcome to the show. How are you today?
I am good. I got my cup of coffee, got a semi-good night of sleep. So I am grateful. And thank you so much for having me on the show to just serve the mompreneurs that you serve.
With a lot of pleasure. I saw your profile and I must say that it speaks to my heart because I think that I actually in another episode a few weeks back I said to someone, I can help women streamline their business all day long, but if their mindset is not working right, then all the strategies in the world can save you. So tell us what you do. What's your background? What's your link with neuroscience in it as well? Take it away.
Yeah. So what I do is I am a master certified neuro coach. I help entrepreneurs to rewire their minds so that they can perform at the level they want to perform at, so that they can make more while working less. And I love, you hit it the nail on the head, where all the strategies in the world, they all work, but only as much as you do. And so that is where mindset is a huge piece. Part of what I do came, I think everyone kind of has a backstory, but it came from my own experience and learning the lesson the hard way. But I've always been intrigued in neuroscience. Particularly, my background is I'm actually a doctor of physical therapy. So, what I started to learn on my own journey is that the way that we wire in motor patterns is no different from the way that we learn belief patterns and thought loops. And so I started to see just the connection of if we want to perform at a higher level, then we have to learn how to reprogram our minds um, so that we can perform at that level. And that's kind of like, just in a nutshell, what brought me down this road.
Yeah, that's so right. Would you mind sharing a bit, if you want to, about because you mentioned the lesson I learned the hard way. Would you mind sharing a bit about the lesson and how you learned it the hard way?
Oh my goodness. Yes. Lots of lessons the hard way. But I feel like that's like the way we all go, right? We enter entrepreneurship thinking it's going to look one way and then we fall on our faces, I don't know how many times. Um, but the biggest lesson for me was, I had burnt out back in 2020 as a physical therapist. So I was still in my 9 to 5. And as I was burning out in this position, I was blaming all of the external circumstances. So I was like, it's the healthcare system in the US. It's, my boss. It's that men are always getting the promotions over women and blaming all of these things. And part of it, it's factual. So it's like, okay, sure. But I thought falsely that entrepreneurship would be the answer to my problems. That it would be the thing that changes the external circumstances. I'm my own boss. Therefore, I have all the freedom. I'm not going to be burnt out. That the only reason I was burnt out was because of the toxic environment. And then I found myself 1 year into my coaching business, seriously, more burnt out than I was in my 9 to 5. And I had no one else to blame but myself in this moment. And that was like my rock bottom moment because I had done all the things, chase the strategies, chase the courses, chase the programs, implemented everything, worked myself into the ground, and I had nothing to show for it.
Yeah, that sounds harsh.
Yeah. So that's when I started to realize, hey, you know what? Maybe it's not the external, but maybe there's something within me that needs to change. And that really took me down this performance. I don't know what you want to call it, but just this like curiosity about why is it that the strategies work for some, but not for others? Why is it that some people can seem to effortlessly show up and with confidence, with ease, with no anxiety, no overwhelm, when they have all the same tools I have? And the only thing that was standing in a difference between me versus them was our mindset.
Yeah.
And that's where it went.
Yeah, because before that, you already said that you had a coaching business. Like after you hit rock bottom and you got curious to get into this direction, did you pivot your coaching business towards this direction, or were you already sort of heading down this path when you started?
So I think to answer your question simply, I started off helping entrepreneurs who were burnt out and
Hmm.
really just helping them to manage their stress, so to speak. And while it was fairly successful, it didn't light me up the way that working with entrepreneurs do. Why? Because I don't know. I don't know about you, but something about entrepreneurs, they are the dreamers, the movers and shakers, the people who, when everyone tells them you can't, they're like, why not?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And so I was attracting kind of both people. And I made a choice that, you know what? I really want to serve the people who are innovating and solving problems in ways that the traditional 9 to 5s don't always allow us to. And I want to make sure that these people who are struggling the way I was struggling know how to get their gifts out there and don't burn out in the process,
Yeah.
because hitting rock bottom was not fun.
No, that's not fun at all. I hear you. I think I hit rock bottom in my professional life. I hit it twice. I hit it in 2015 when I had a massive burnout from my corporate job.
Mm,
And I had the same thing as you, blaming it on everything else. Like, this is not the right career path for me. My bosses are wearing me down. I mean, I was the only person doing a job for 6 people. So, that gets to you as well. But somewhere along the way, and luckily, I've always given myself that voice. Somewhere along the way, I should have taken care of me as well. I should have told them these are my boundaries. I'm just not a step further. And in hindsight, I should have told them that like way sooner before it was too late. And then afterwards, like a year and a half after that, I started as an entrepreneur as well. And I had so much fun being an entrepreneur. And then I became a mom and I started working from a very reactive space. So
mm.
I was taking care of my kids. I was taking care of my husband. I was taking care of the household. I was taking care of my clients. I was doing everything for everyone else. And with that, I also hit a rock bottom moment where I I love New Year's Eve and I love setting New Year's resolutions and I love that sort of new start energy. And then we had a New Year's Eve and I was like, man, I'm not going to set any New Year's resolutions. I'll just take life as it comes. And then just a few days later, I had like a light bulb download from the universe, however you want to call it. And I just went, what? What am I doing? Like, where am I going? Where am I in this whole picture? So yes, coming from rock bottom, I recognize that absolutely. And I wonder, because you're now working with entrepreneurs, you're working with their mindsets, what are the most common limiting beliefs? Because that's what you specialize in, limiting beliefs.
Yes,
What are the
yes,
most common limiting beliefs that you see in entrepreneurs and then especially women and mompreneurs?
yes. So most of the clients that I attract are women, but you know, one of the biggest stories that I hear so often is I can't have it all, meaning
Yeah,
I have to choose between motherhood and my career or a business. And I don't think that's true. So I don't think it's true because one of the ways that I tell them that it's a belief is if there is evidence of the opposite, then it's a belief. Because the only way that it can be a fact is if it's 100% true all of the time. So
yeah,
that's one of the biggest ones. And why that's so important to know is because when I see this happen time and time again, what I see is a values discrepancy where, on one hand, they want to be this amazing mom, amazing wife, amazing partner. And on the other hand, they want more in abundance in their career, in their business, right? They're ambitious. And so they're like, I can't have this while having that. And so it creates all of the self sabotage, all of the procrastination, overthinking, anxiety is a big one.
yeah,
The other story that I hear a lot is the story of worthiness and what it means to be worthy. And the third story that I hear all the time is that wanting more means I'm selfish or I'm greedy or I'm ungrateful for the things that I do have.
yeah. Yeah. And I wonder, you said that worthiness, that boils down to I'm not good enough? Not
Yes.
like who am I to be doing this? I'm not good enough to be helping others, etc.
Yes. Yes. So, we hear the catchphrase all the time, imposter syndrome.
Yeah.
But The problem is when we kind of blanket statement beliefs like imposter syndrome, the chances are you're not going around saying, I'm an imposter, I'm an imposter. But chances are,
It would be weird.
yeah, so chances are it's the story is like a very detailed story about you, about
Yeah.
kind of like, for example, who am I to be doing this? Or it's something like, they, if I don't deliver the results, they will know I'm a fraud. They will know I'm not the expert in my field, right? Like those are very specific stories. And that is what I teach people is that we can't stop at it's imposter syndrome. We have to find what is the actual story that your brain is playing out in your mind of like what situations mean and
Yeah.
essentially what it means about you.
Yeah, absolutely. I was the other day because I am a massive sufferer of the imposter syndrome. And the other day I was journaling through it and working through it. And I love to use ChatGPT to sort of go back and forth with, especially whenever I'm sort of thinking myself into a loop. And I asked it to kick my ass. I asked ChatGPT like, okay, I'm so done with thinking this all the time. Can you just kick my ass? And then it said something, and it said, yeah, you can talk all you want, but basically what you're experiencing is just fear disguised as humbleness. And I was like, oh, that's hitting home. Thank you for kicking my ass. But it's, as you say, it's coming from somewhere. And for me, it's a fear that's coming from somewhere. And and I wonder, as you say, like you have to go deeper down into the root of all these stuff. How do these subconscious beliefs form, and why do they hold us back so strongly?
Yeah, it's a great question, Isla. So before I even dive into that, you brought up something around humbleness. That is the other story. That's the fourth story that I hear the most, which is I think, especially as women, we've been taught to not brag, to be humble, be polite, all of these things. So, like, we see it all the time. There's this double standard. You see a man walk into a room and talk about all of the accomplishments he's done, and that's confidence. You see a woman do that, and it's bragging. And it's
Yeah.
like,
Oh, yes.
I could go for days on that, but I won't.
That's good
But
because
that's
I could go for days on that as well.
and that's a big thing, right? Is like part of being an entrepreneur is showing people that I can get you from point A to point B. I'm the expert and let me be your guide. And that requires you talking about yourself.
Yeah.
And so if you have a story about I need to be humble, talking about myself equals bragging, then every time you go to do that, you're going to shy away.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
you ask the question, where does it form? Well, our brains, what neuroscience has shown is that our brains are not mature until we're about 23 in age for women. So that's 23 years of learning from the external. And so if we go back to the way that humans were wired, we are cultural, we are tribal, right?
Mm-hmm.
If we go back to caveman days, the very beginning, what did you have to do to survive? Well, you had to be a part of the tribe. So, how do you be a part of the tribe? Well, you have to learn how to fit in, how to be loved, accepted, and have a role. And
Yeah.
so, during the 23 years that we aren't able to consciously choose for ourselves, we are unknowingly and involuntarily learning from our tribe, our parents, our grandparents, our teachers, our cultural stories. And all of that becomes the lens at which you look at the world, the way that
Yeah.
you have learned to be a part of a tribe. So when you try to go against that, AKA entrepreneurship, then the brain sees that as a threat because you are potentially putting yourself at risk of getting kicked out of the tribe, of being judged, rejected. And that means, on a very primitive level, I'm going to have to survive on my own. And therefore, this is not safe. Pull the e brakes. We're not doing this.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and that automatically answers the second part of the questions is why do they hold us back so strongly? It's basically your brain is saying, if you do this, you die alone in the woods
Yes.
somewhere.
Yes.
And yeah, that makes sense then that it's holding us back like that because, well, you don't want to do that.
Yes. And so that becomes like the very reason why no matter how much you try to override this system
Mm-hmm.
on a logical level, like
Yeah.
you might know, like, oh, I'm procrastinating, or oh, I know I'm pulling back when I should be doing this. No matter how much you know it, we have to start with the programming. We've got to almost like change the programming of the brain to not see these things as a threat anymore so that you can, perform the way you want to without the brain trying to pull the e-brakes on you.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. What are the sort of the first signs that someone is operating from a limiting belief? Because for me, that's what really kills me about limiting beliefs is that you don't really know that you have them, but
Yep.
you're operating from it. I mean, that's the whole joy of having a subconscious brain, a subconscious mind, is that it's subconscious. So if you don't know that you're operating from a limiting belief, like there's a circle there where you're just going, I should
Yeah.
do, but I don't know, and etc. So how can someone find out if they are operating from a limiting belief?
Yeah. And this is where I always tell my clients, get curious. And what I mean by
Mm,
that is typically we are not going to hear the actual thoughts and beliefs the first time we try.
yeah.
So, like you said, it's subconscious, meaning it's below awareness. So, if we try to attack it from like a logical way of like, oh, let me hear what my internal dialogue is, nine
Mm-hmm.
times out of 10, there might be one time out of the the minority pretty much where you might hear what is actually going on, but 9 times out of 10, you will not be able to hear it that way. So I teach my clients that the way to identify the limiting beliefs is to use their body signals.
Okay.
So, for example, when you go into a situation, if you start feeling almost like panic, the fight, flight, or freeze response starting to kick in,
Yeah.
anxiety, the heart rate, your stomach, like a big knot in your stomach, you're tensing up, right? That is a great sign that it's a physical manifestation of what's happening on the subconscious. So I tell people to start there, to start looking for the situations that you're noticing these physical manifestations of a fear. So
Mm-hmm.
that's one way. The other way that I teach people is to look at their emotions. And I know most people are like, what do you mean by look at my emotions? What I mean by that is there are more emotions than happy, good, bad, sad, angry. And so it's like, okay, when you are noticing some of these negative emotions like sadness, grief, guilt, shame, those can be very good indicators that there is a story that your brain is making something mean, eliciting those emotions. So I actually teach people to go through the symptoms to find the limiting beliefs. And that's how
Yeah.
people tend to know, you know what, there's something here that's creating like a full stop. And I don't know what
Yeah.
it is.
Yeah, exactly. So because what I see my clients do a lot is not feel their emotions. They're I don't know. You maybe know this. I think there's like 30-second wave for you to feel an emotion. Is it 30 seconds? Is it 9 seconds? I don't remember. But there's like a wave where you feel the emotion. And I see a lot of my clients cut off their emotions at like second one, where they're busy, they're either with their children, they're trying to do some deep work, and they just like, oh, I have this emotion, but not right now. And they turn it off and they sort of put it away for another time, except the other time is never coming. So they're just putting it away. So basically, what you're saying, if you want to find your limiting beliefs, notice the emotion, feel the emotion, and then maybe think backwards, like what happened in the moment that I even started to feel this emotion.
Yeah. Yes. So that's one way. The other way is to start noticing, we hear this word all the time, triggers,
Yeah.
but to notice in moments where you maybe feel increased irritability, like
Mm-hmm.
we all have been there, where it's like our partner or our spouse or our kids, like
Kids. Yeah.
we feel that like level of tension just like going up and up and up and up. That is like a great, if feeling emotions feels foreign to you, that is still a version of my brain is making something here. It's telling me a story here. And that's why I want to snap at my husband or snap at, my kids or whatever
Yeah.
it is. So that's another way.
Yeah. Oh, this is so good. Oh, you have another way. Sorry. Yeah.
You're good. Sorry. The last way that I think might resonate with your clients is to look at your reality. Look at
Okay.
what problems do you continue to face over and over and over again?
Mm. Yeah. Yeah. That
Because
makes
life
sense.
is a mirror, and if we want different results, we have to have different behaviors.
Yeah.
And so what drives behaviors? Well, subconscious limiting beliefs.
Yeah. Absolutely.
That's the last way that I teach people how to start looking for, where do I have something like a story that's not serving me?
Yeah. Yeah. So to recap, they look at their body signals. What is their body telling them? They're looking at
Mhm.
their emotions. They're looking at their triggers in their life. And then they're looking at basically their recurring problems, their reality, to
Yes.
to find where in their life there might be a limiting belief that's operating them. This is
Yes.
this is hitting home for me because I have for the last few days I've been trying to work through something that I noticed last weekend. My husband, he was away, and this was the third time, so recurring problem right there, the third time that he went away and that I lost my voice. And of course, yeah, I mean, we all have a cold right now, so there's also a virus there. But still, I figured 3 times, that's significant. And I also, when he gets away, I get really like yelly at the kids. I get so angry and I get into this really like this fight mode. For me, it's not flight or freeze, it's fight. And I just sort of feel the need to yell at them constantly. So there are the triggers, there are the rising emotions, and then there are, for me right now, the body signals are heavy. My mind is trying to tell me something enormously because it's physically restricting my throat. So
Yeah.
I'm trying to figure out where it comes from. And for me, I've been trying to do that with my trusted combination of journaling and ChatGPT, who by now knows everything about me. And I figured out it has something to do with not being heard, like literally
Yeah.
not being heard, but because I'm trying to control like 2 dogs, 2 kids, no one is listening. Everyone is just tearing down the house and literally plugging the drains and turning on the faucets and stuff like that. When I turn my back to fix something, behind my back something else is happening, and I'm just going, "Oh my god!" And no one is listening to anything
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
saying here, and I know for sure that it has something to do with something. So this relates to my next question that I had for you as well. When people notice that something is going on, so for me right now, it has something to do
Yeah.
with not being heard. How do they then identify their own hidden beliefs? Because what you described, like body emotions triggers reality, it points you in a certain direction. How can they sort of funnel down to where it's coming from? How do they identify it?
Yes, that's a great question. And it will vary. So, for listeners out there, if you're like, that doesn't apply to me, that's totally fine. The tools will apply to you. And so, one of the biggest things that I then tell them is okay, we found the trigger. We found kind of the big neon sign that is like
Mm-hmm.
pointing like big arrows, big neon arrows saying, look under here. So, what I typically then prompt my clients to do is to start getting curious by first off identifying what was the situation specifically that you might guess preceded all of these physical emotions and manifestations. So, for example, maybe the situation was your husband left for another weekend for work or whatever it is, right? That's a
Mm-hmm.
situation. And you will know if it's a situation based off if anyone saw this on our video recording, could
Yeah.
they state the same fact?
Yeah. Yeah. So it's not necessarily what they're experiencing as feelings, but it's
Mhm.
what a neutral external observer would see as well.
Yes. Like if I was a news reporter, I would say, all right, her husband left for the weekend. That's a fact,
Yeah.
right? That like there's no interpretation there. And then
I'm
this
sorry,
is
I just getting like this mental image of you standing here just going, Isla's husband went away for the weekend and chaos and shoot. The kids are tearing down the place and the dogs have run away again.
yes. So I
Yeah.
could, maybe in a past life I was a reporter, but all jokes aside, that's where you start is first by finding the situation that happened.
Mm-hmm.
And that's harder than I think people actually realize.
Yeah.
And so essentially, what you're going to do from there is you're going to start thinking through okay, what are the thoughts that are coming up around this situation? What are my thoughts that are coming up around that situation? So, this is where, you know, the two different people can have the same experience or the same situation, but have
Mm-hmm.
two very different experiences, right? So,
Yeah.
if I were to give a entrepreneur example, it would be like, okay, you do a webinar. That's a fact, right?
Yeah.
One person has two people attend, the other person has two people attend. Same situation. But one person's like, oh my God, two people attended. Hooray. Like, I get to serve two people. The other person might think, oh my God, no one showed up. Two very
Yeah.
different experiences of the same situation. So, this is where you're starting to uncover what is the lens that I am interpreting this situation through. So in your case, Isla, it would be okay, what are the thoughts that are coming up around your husband leaving for a weekend and you're alone with the kids?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's an actual question, like not a rhetorical one.
Yeah, that's an
For
actual
yeah,
question.
yeah. For me, it would be like I hate that I have to do everything alone again,
Yeah.
and also because there are, of course, there are like past experiences in play as well. I would also think about like I wonder how this is gonna go this time, but like with the negative edge to it because like last time didn't go that great. I wonder how it's gonna go this time.
Yeah. And so I think this is great for I mean, sorry to put you on the spot, but this is
It's
like
fine.
showing your clients exactly what you're going to start uncovering here. So, right, like you said it very beautifully. You said, there's a lot of past fueling the way that I'm looking at what's coming. And it's
Yeah.
that waiting for the other shoe to drop type of emotions.
Yeah.
And then it's about digging deeper. Okay, if you think about doing it alone on your own, then what is the brain making that mean? And it's about digging deeper to find what is the way my brain is perceiving this situation and what is that then driving for me to react by.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. And I love that you sort of have these steps to it where you start with thinking about the current situation and your thoughts about the current situation, because I think that for a lot of people, when you talk about limiting beliefs, especially if you don't know like the ins and outs of it, but you know it has something to do with your subconscious mind, I think that a lot of people, when they think about something that they're experiencing now, are just going, oh, I need to think about something. Do I have a trauma in my youth? Like what happened to me when I was a baby? But I love how you start in the here and now, and from there on start to go a bit deeper. Like, what is my brain thinking about now? Like, what am I
Yeah.
linking it to?
Yeah. And that's one of the biggest things that I think many of my clients who work with me, they're like, I don't want to dig up the past. I don't. And that's the beautiful thing is we don't have to if you don't want to, because the beautiful thing is you don't have to go back to when you were in the womb to necessarily reprogram limiting beliefs. You just
Could you elaborate on that? Because you just said that the subconscious beliefs form approximately until the age of 23. So,
Mhm.
how, if you are now wanting to rewire everything, how would you not have to dig into the things that
Yeah.
happened like before you were 23?
Yes. Now, you don't have to, because the story adapts to whatever situation you're in. So, for example, if you had a trauma early on, this could be big T or little t trauma,
Mm-hmm.
then you created a story about what it meant to be alone and what it required you to gain people's love and attention because you felt so alone. That
Mm-hmm.
same behavior and patterns will follow you and evolve to adapt to the situations that you face in the here and the now. So you don't have to dig up everything. You just have
Mm-hmm.
to know what is the meaning that my brain continues to deduct about situations that trigger a similar trauma.
Okay. I'm I'm like halfway there. Like I'm getting you halfway. So you are you're linking it to something in your past where you know this has happened, and you're trying to find sort of how you felt in that moment and how your see, that's where I'm going wrong. How you felt
Yes.
in that moment and how your brain is thinking about that now. Is that what we're doing?
So, what I am trying to explain is that the past can stay in the past, but the patterns, like our brains, essentially can only predict the future based off past circumstances,
Yeah.
right? We can't predict the future. So it's trying to predict an outcome and it's filling all the gaps with fear based off memories that have happened in the past. Now you don't need to know what those exact memories are, is
Yeah.
what I'm
Yeah.
explaining.
Gotcha.
But you do have to know what is the language of the story that's happening here.
So you have to figure out what you are using to filling the gaps
Yes.
for the
Yeah.
future. Yeah. Yeah, okay, that makes sense.
What
And
it
and then that's where you come in, because that's what you help your clients with, to rewire them, then like to refill the gaps but then flip it on its head.
absolutely. Yes.
Yeah, that is so cool. And before we hit record, you already told me a bit that you are in quarter two. You're relaunching your program again. in
Yes.
which you are going to help people do exactly that, rewire their limiting beliefs.
Yes.
Could you tell us a bit about that?
Yes. So that is coming up in April. And the date TBD. I believe it's going to be the
Mm-hmm.
second week of April. And this will be the third group cohort that goes through the Rewired to Thrive. What we do in that program is we do exactly what we talked about here. We first teach you the tools to identify what are the limiting beliefs. And then I teach you the brain based tools to reprogram, rewire that subconscious so that it no longer gets in the way of you performing at the level you want to perform so that you can make more while working less. So I have a wait list that anyone can sign up for. I
Mm-hmm.
only take 6 people into every cohort. So it's a very small
Okay.
and intimate cohort because we are diving deep together and I want to make sure I have enough time to sit there and help you walk hand in hand with you to get to where you want to go.
Yeah. Oh, that's perfect. That's so lovely. So you are basically like stepping it up from one-on-one coaching, but still having it small enough to feel that personal attention and that they really have you to lean on.
Absolutely. Yes.
Yeah. Oh, that's so good. You mentioned that you have several tools to rewire. So would you maybe share one of them if you want to?
Absolutely. Yeah. The first one is just dismantling, right? So we've kind of touched on the throughout this episode, just really how to identify it.
Mm-hmm.
And I would argue that's the most important step because we can't heal what we don't know.
Yeah.
So the second step is about starting to dismantle. And how you begin to do that is finding evidence that proves it is not an all or nothing. Typically, beliefs operate by that black and white, all or nothing thinking. It's
Yeah.
either this or that. And
Yeah.
so, what I typically have people do is to start researching what evidence is there, whether it's people you know, people you don't
Mm-hmm.
know, experiences maybe you've had that cannot allow that to be 100% true all of the time.
Yeah. So to pull it back, because in the beginning of the episode you said that one of the things you very commonly see is women thinking I can't have it all.
Yep.
So what you would do have them do here is just basically go online and find examples of women who both have a big loving family and a thriving business, for example.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Cool. Yeah.
And what what moms will typically find, because I was guilty of it too, is we will then find justifications for why we believe that you can't have it all. So what I mean by that is, say, Jasmine Star is an example, right? Like I
Mm-hmm.
look up to Jasmine Star. She's uh, a very strong leader. She has a good family unit. She has a daughter. And what I tend to hear is the yeah, but she has it all because she has money, or yeah, but she has it all because she has help, or she has this, or she
Yeah.
has that.
Yeah.
And that's
The
another
must
great
be nice.
example.
The
Yes,
yeah.
that it's a belief, that it's a belief.
So you're sort of starting to find excuses for why someone else can have it and you can't.
And why you can't. Yes.
Oh, that's so good. And how, because this is very externally, very publicly. For
Mhm.
example, in my case, it's something that definitely stems from my youth. Would I then be looking to dismantle the beliefs by finding situations where I was heard, for example, or where things didn't ensue into chaos when I was alone?
I would actually, if you're open to it, I would love to do an example so that your clients can really understand these steps, if you're open to it, of digging to find it. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah,
Okay.
take it away.
Okay. So, for example, your story is the situations your husband left for the weekend. You have the kids and the dogs alone. which I have 2 dogs too, so I get it. It's crazy town.
Yeah. Yep.
And your story that you were making it mean is that I have to do it alone again. Now, to dig deeper is what does that mean? So what is the brain making that mean that you have to do things alone?
That it's hard to do things alone.
Okay? And what does that mean?
That's a good question. What does it mean to do that it's hard to do things alone? I don't know. How do I answer this? For me, there's like a whole therapy background of not feeling very supported when I was little by my parents. So, like emotional support, because the rest of it was fine. On paper, I had this beautiful youth, but not on paper. I was very much alone
Okay?
to deal with all like the bullying at school and stuff like that. I didn't find any support for that at home. So I think that it stems from there, that when you're a kid and you have to deal with stuff like being bullied all by yourself, that's hard. Is is that am I like going in the right direction with that? Like, because
Yeah.
it's not something
Okay.
I'm making it mean, but it's like that's where it's more of a feeling than I can describe into words. It's like that's where it's coming from. That when you have to take care of things on your own, it's hard. It would be nice to have support.
Okay. And so when you say it's a feeling, what feeling is it for you?
Oh, here comes the language barrier. I have 3 languages and I can only say it in Dutch. It's no, I can say it in English. Powerlessness. Powerlessness. It's what is what
Powerlessness.
comes from me. Yeah.
Okay. So if you are powerless, what does that mean? What is the brain making that mean?
That I can't influence anybody. That I can't affect the outcome at all.
Okay. And if you can't affect the outcome, then what?
Well, things turn to shit, basically.
Okay. And if things turn to shit with your kiddos at home, with the 2 kiddos and the dogs, what does that mean?
Yeah, the funny thing is that it's not meaning a lot. Like they're not actually dying. And well, the dogs are running away, so maybe they are dying when they get run over by a car. But we live in a 500-year-old castle, so it's not child-proof. It's dangerous if things get out of control and I can't,
Hmm.
if it's turning to shit, there is the potential that it's dangerous shit that it's turning into. I don't even remember your question, but in my head, it's just like there's this tailspin going of, okay, everyone's dying, and I'm just left here standing in the rubble. And then my husband comes home, and I'm like, sorry, everyone died, and the house burned down as well, and we no longer have a car.
Okay. So if that happened, what is the brain making it mean about you?
That I'm very incapable as a human being.
And if you're incapable, what does that mean?
Well, it's not good. It's nothing good that's incapable, like not being able to keep people safe, unlovable as well. Like, why would somebody love someone who's incapable of keeping their kids safe?
Yeah. So do you see how
Yeah,
deep it goes? Where
yeah,
this is what I meant, where you don't have to relive the bullying and those things. But if
yeah,
I can find in this situation what the brain is taking the worst case scenario to mean, which in this case, the worst case scenario is like shit hits the fan, kids could die. And if that happens, then I'm incapable. I can't keep
yeah,
my own kids safe. So why would anyone else trust me or love me to do
yeah,
the same for them?
yeah,
And that
absolutely.
that is the story that is going on for your imposter syndrome.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
that was just a great example of like how deep to dig. And if your brain says I don't know, that's a telltale sign it wants you to stop digging.
yeah. I can
Keep
imagine because it
going.
hurts. Because saying out loud, "Oh, I would feel unlovable," that's not a fun thing to admit. It's making me a bit sweaty and a bit like, oh, okay, no fun there. Okay, and then because now I love that this is what's happening, and it will definitely help me the next time that I'm experiencing this. Like
Yeah.
going, okay, if even if the chaos ensues here, am I still lovable? How would I flip it?
So, like we talked about, right? I love this. First off, I love that you are so open with doing this for the people that you serve, because it takes a lot of courage to dig through these things and share it. And so
Thanks.
I know how much the women that you serve will get value from this too, as they run through the exercises as well. But the next step for you is first recognize how you had a physical symptom,
Mm-hmm.
which is a great sign that this is at the root of a lot of the issues that you might be facing or might not be facing. So the next step to flip it is put your lawyer pants on. Why is that not true? Why is it not true that you are incapable and not lovable?
That's a very hard question as well, because my mind is now just like we're still going from the worst case scenario. Like, even if that were to happen, would I still be lovable? And my mind just going, nope, 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 nope. So, am I then finding a situation where everything did go to shit, but I was still lovable at the end?
So in this case, what you could do is find a situation where everything did go to shit. No one died.
Yeah. So basically, each time my husband has left us alone,
Oh,
and I was unable to control everything, and they did draw on the walls, and the dogs did run away, but they came back in the end, and he still came home and still loved me. Like, maybe a bit
yeah.
mad about some things that were wrong, but still, he knows what it's like, so forgave me. And basically, it had nothing to do with me at all. Like, he taking an external factor, being my husband here now, I don't think he ever blamed me for anything that happened while he was away.
Yeah.
So is that okay if I'm now sort of thinking about him in the scenario as well?
Yes. So the reason being, can you feel it as intense as you did a minute ago?
No, not at
Like
all.
the, not at all, right? What you're
Yeah.
trying to do here is show your brain why this is ludicrous. Like this is not that is 100% true. It's the story that we're making it mean, that we are anticipating could happen, might happen, but we don't know that. And so it's your this is a amazing example of your brain filling in the gaps with the fear of what
Hmm.
you are trying to avoid in order to not feel incapable and not lovable.
Yeah,
So,
that makes a lot of sense, because now you say it like that, the filling in the gaps. I'm filling in the gaps of a mental scenario with my husband coming home and just being, oh,
yes.
yeah, it sucks, but it's not your fault, or wasn't probably anything you could do about it, and still giving me a hug and saying, I'm glad to see you, which is a
Yes.
very different
Yes.
scenario than the other one.
Yes. So it's what you're just trying to do here is show your brain evidence that, we could break it down. Evidence of times where you've been lovable, evidence of times where you received love, evidence of times where everything went to shit and you still were loved, right? It's you're just trying to show your brain that, hey, you are making this a black and white, all or nothing meaning.
Yeah,
That's not 100% true.
yeah,
And
exactly. Okay.
you'll know if the physical symptoms starts decreasing.
Yeah, so the next time he's actually, it's now it sounds like he's not here half the time. This is not at all true. This only happens like a couple of times a year. But incidentally, he's leaving again next week. So now, next week, whenever I feel like my throat clenching again and feeling the need to start yelling at the kids, I would just put on my lawyer pants again, and I would just run through the scenario where I sort of let it all play out, and then watch the imaginary reactions?
Pretty much, yes. And this is where one of the things that we do in our program as well is we create a brain prime. And it's based in neuroscience of what they're starting to find of visualization. And
Okay.
so, what we take people through in that is what do they want to see in 90 days or a year? And
Mm-hmm.
they're envisioning the match before it's even happening. They're envisioning the scenarios before it even happens. And I don't know if your people believe in law of attraction and universal laws and principles.
I think automatically my clients do too, because I talk about it a lot. So
Yes. And so you said, right, you were kind of waiting for the other shoe to drop in the scenarios where, okay, he's leaving, everything's going to go to shit. Well, if we're anticipating that already, if we're looking for evidence of that, if and it's not to say that this is like your fault or anything like that, but it is to say
hmm
if we are going in expecting the worst, what we will see
yeah,
is the worst.
that makes a lot of sense. Because I actually, especially when you link it to the law of attraction, to just generalize the name for it. It started when he went away. Within an hour, one of the dogs ran away, ate something that was horrible, and then continued to vomit like all through the house. And it
Oh
was the
no.
worst. It really, like, we're still trying to get the smell out. It was the worst. And I sent my husband a message saying, "Oh my God, look what happened." And he was like, "How can this happen every time I'm away?" Like, boom. Well, there you have it. Law of attraction. My mind is just going, okay, he's away. I wonder what's going to happen next. And then you pull it in like that.
And just think about how often we do that in our business, in our lives,
Yeah.
in motherhood. It's really a discipline and an art to start catching when you're starting to go down that worst case scenario. And it's about pulling yourself back with some of these tools that we teach.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, that's so good. I'm so glad that you're helping people with that, because I think it's very valuable to be able to do that. What is the, if you're willing to share, what's like the biggest limiting belief you had to work through personally?
Oh my goodness. That, well, there's a lot. First off, everything you described, I had to work through that as well in this new phase of motherhood of
Yes.
just like, okay, my husband's working this weekend, I have the kids. And then the story being, I don't have the time, I don't have the energy, yada, yada, yada.
Yeah.
But for me, I'm trying to think what is the biggest one that I had to work through. I think for me, the biggest one was learning that hard work does not equal success.
Mm.
And to follow that one up, it was that my success does not equal my value
Yeah.
and my lovability. Because I had that linked for a very long time.
Yeah.
And that led to me trying to over deliver, overperform, overprove, and as a result, burning out for a second time as an
Yeah.
entrepreneur. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I can, especially as an entrepreneur, I can see that happening. I see it a lot with my clients as well. Like, there, maybe it's a women thing. I don't know. I don't talk to men that often, but there is a lot there where we are just going, I have to prove my worth. Like, how hard I work is my value. My success is my value.
It
Yeah.
is. And yeah, you're so right that, I've had a few male clients and the level of that story of I need to prove myself is a lot less than it is in women. And I think there's a lot of socio-economic as well as like
Yeah,
social cultural things that feed into that. And so,
absolutely.
a topic for another time, but
Yeah.
you know, it really does manifest a lot more in women is what I see all the time.
You already mentioned that you're the mom of a 6-month-old boy. How's that going for you? How are you balancing it all? And are you managing to sort of evade the mom guilt that often plagues us and keeping the value balance in check?
Yes. So this is where I admit I am not perfect. And I'd go back to the tools that I use over and over and over again,
Yeah, I can
because these are
imagine.
tools that really, really help you to navigate every level of life. So I always say new level, new devil. Well, motherhood is a
Yep.
new level. And definitely, I don't want to say devil, but it's a new challenge.
Yes,
And so,
absolutely.
how I've been balancing it, first off, is asking for a lot of help.
Well
So,
done. Well done. That's not a lot of
I,
moms who do that.
and there's a lot of limiting beliefs around that. And that's what I coached myself out of,
Yeah.
to be able to ask for help and receive help. It's one thing to ask for help, but to receive it is a
It's
whole nother
something
story.
completely different. Absolutely.
The other thing is, I had to work through a lot of my perception and belief about what balance means.
Mm-hmm.
Because when we hear the word balance, right, we hear it as like, okay, it kind of creates an all or nothing, right? It's like
Yeah.
this tipping point that you have to manage. And so I actually don't use the word balance anymore. I use harmony. And I use it as like the analogy of the melody of music in a dance that we do with life.
Yeah.
And when we are able to understand our own expectations that we have about what we thought motherhood would look like, what we thought business would look like, where we thought we would be by this phase of our life, we have to understand that in order to let go of the guilt, because the emotion of guilt indicates I am doing something wrong. And
Yeah.
then when you add shame on top of that, therefore something's wrong with me, then it becomes this whole thing of like difficulty pursuing one versus the other. And so when you are able to look at it more as like, this is the season of life I'm in, this is what I have capacity for, this is what I don't have capacity for.
Yeah.
And to be okay with that, that's really where the magic has happened for me, to be able to, you know what, right now things are not going the way I thought it would. And I'm okay with that. I fully let go of that. And here's what I'm going to do instead. Right. So
Yeah.
it's letting go of your own stealth expectations.
I love that analogy of harmony. I always use, because I do like to use the word balance, simply because it's a simple word and we all know it.
It is a simple
I
word.
hear a lot of people using work life integration right now, and I'm like, oh, that's a mouthful. I'd rather use balance. But I always explain it to my clients as looking at a tightrope walker. They're not standing still on the rope, they're going from A to B. And along the way, they're adjusting every step along the way. So
Yes.
that's more like what you're describing, like a harmony, like a dance music thing, instead of trying to stand still and juggle it all and balance it all. Like, no, you're going somewhere, you have to adjust along the way, and you have to make the journey easier. And yes, it absolutely has to do with some things, just nope, not right now. For example, we are in a season of our lives where we are like, our dinners are just weird. I throw something together for the kids based on what we have in the fridge. My husband and I are both eating on a keto diet, so for us it's basically just a piece of meat and maybe some vegetables, maybe not even. And they are eating a warm lunch at school while we are not at home, and it's just weird. And for the longest time, I've had this feeling, where the mom guilt comes in, of course, like, oh, we should have family dinners every evening. And right now, I've just said, nope, not right now. That's, yes, maybe in the summer again, when we're all at home, when they are home from school, and we all have more of the same rhythm. Right now, it's just not, nope, not in the cards for us. So I've stopped feeling guilty about that as well. It's like, okay, as long as everyone's eating healthy, if everyone's feeling good about what they're eating, we're good. And then the family dinners
Yes.
will come in another season of life. And that's the way it is.
That's the biggest thing too, is learning what is behind that guilt. That's how I've been managing, is leaning on the tools and then also asking for help and receiving help, so that I can do things like this and be on
Yeah.
calls.
Yeah. Perfect. Thank you so much. I want to be mindful of your time. There's one question I'm asking all my guests, and it's the funnest question because I'm getting all these really cool answers. If tomorrow you had one day completely without responsibilities, so your son is somewhere else and your business is taken care of by someone else, you have no responsibilities at all, what would you be doing?
Ooh, a full 24 hours?
Yep.
Ooh, that's a great question. I think that I would get on a plane. I would fly to maybe Colorado, because that's probably the closest place to me. Colorado, we'd hike for the entire day, catch a red eye back, and that's my day.
That sounds lovely. I think you should make it
Yes.
happen.
I
Sounds
I
really good.
honestly, yes, we actually have a Colorado trip in the books. So
Oh, that sounds good.
yes, I love
Yeah.
to be hiking, so I'm excited.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Before we log off, where can our listeners find you? Where can they join you for the upcoming program you have in April?
Yes. So if it's okay with you, Isla, I will share the waitlist link with you to link up to
Absolutely.
the episode. And then if
Absolutely.
not, I am on Instagram at Dr. Reana Mulcahy.
Which I will also link
And
up.
yeah, and they can shoot me a message. I offer free mindset audits. So if they were like listening to this and they want to go through one, then I have a link in my bio there to sign up.
Oh, that sounds really cool. And I gotta say something as well. You have a podcast of your own.
Yes, I do. Which I forgot to mention.
Yeah, I'm mentioning it
It's
for you because I
I love
listened
it.
to a
I
few
love it.
episodes this week and it's a really good podcast. So
I love it.
jealous.
Thank you. Yes. So the podcast is Breaking the Burnout Cycle. You can find it on Apple or Spotify. I think even on Amazon Music, but I've never checked there myself. So I know for sure Apple and Spotify. So if you want
Yeah,
to hear more from me there, then you can join me there.
perfect. Well, thank you so much for coming on to this episode, helping me work through my limiting belief, and hopefully in a ripple help others find theirs and work through theirs as well.
Yes. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Female Entrepreneurs Network podcast. I hope you loved what you heard today. And if you did, it would mean a world to me if you could leave a review. Because believe it or not, reviews on podcasts are actually still used to make sure more people get to see this podcast in their screens and maybe click on it and learn something as well. Thank you so much, and I'll see you in the next episode. Bye bye.